I had everything a Lagos big girl was supposed to have: a thriving job at a multinational, 2 cars parked in front of my rented duplex, a wardrobe full of designer bags, and an accent I'd polished with trips to Dubai and London. But no matter how far I traveled or how high I climbed, my mother's voice never let me forget the one thing I didn't have: a man to call my husband. Every time I picked up her calls, it came like clockwork. "So when will I come and carry my grandchild, Chinwe? Or is it car I will rock in my old age?" My younger sisters, Ngozi with her twins, and Ifeoma with her doting husband, would exchange those pitying glances behind my back during family gatherings. Aunties whispered. Old classmates giggled whenever I posted vacation pictures without a ring. It stung. God knows it did. So when my mother called me a male-dressed spinster at my cousin's wedding, something inside me snapped like dry broomsticks. 2 days later, under the cloak of shame and moonlight, I drove 4 hours down to my village in Amanid, alone. I ignored the barking dogs, the curious eyes of night traders at the junction. I went straight to the river behind my late father's compound, the one my grandmother once called the mother of the village, where no girl was allowed to speak certain words after dusk. But I didn't care for old warnings. I fell to my knees at the mossy bank, my tears mixing with the cold river water that lapped gently at my palms. Please, whoever listens here, water spirits, ancestors, gods, anybody. I sobbed, my voice cracking into the darkness. I'm tired of being laughed at. Give me a husband, a man I can call mine. I don't want to be single, please. After my words, there was no thunder, no rustle. The water simply gurgled on, swallowing my secrets. By dawn, I dragged my weary body back to the city, clutching a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, something or someone had heard me. I threw myself into work the next day, ignoring my mother's calls. By midnight, exhausted, I dozed off on the couch, still in my office blouse and skirt. A strange chill brushed my cheek. My eyes fluttered open. At first, I thought my mind was playing tricks, that the silhouette by my window was a trick of shadows. Then the figure moved. Into the light. A tall man, bare-chested, skin glistening as if he'd been bathed in moonlight. Eyes dark, unblinking. Handsome in an unearthly way. My breath caught in my throat. I could not scream. Who are you?" I croaked, pressing my back against the sofa, eyes darting to the door I knew I could never reach in time. The man smiled, slow and haunting, and spoke in a voice that felt like cool river water washing over burning skin. "Your husband, from the waters of Amanid." My scream got stuck somewhere in my throat. I couldn't move. My legs just refused. He stepped closer, and under the moonlight, I could see his bare chest gleaming like wet stone. Something about the scent in the air, river mud and rain, was so sharp, I nearly gagged. "You called," he said, his voice soft and low, curling into the room like mist. And I answered. I shook my head, fast and wild. No, this isn't real. You're not real." My eyes darted to my phone on the table. Just 3 steps. That was all. But I couldn't move. The air had thickened around me like I was underwater. He raised his hand. I watched water beads drip from his fingers, splattering on my tiled floor. Where they touched, the tiles shimmered, like moonlight on a rippling pond. My heart pounded painfully in my chest. I remembered Mama's stories, how she used to warn me about Mommy Wata and river spirits that answered desperate prayers, but always took something in return. I used to laugh, roll my eyes. Superstitions. Folk tales. But this wasn't a tale. What do you want?" I asked, barely recognizing my own voice. He tilted his head, almost gently. Like he was studying me. Like I was a fish in a tank, trapped, interesting, helpless. You summoned me, he said again, softer this time. I started to slide sideways on the couch, my hand stretching toward my phone. Just a little more. But the moment my fingers touched it, the lights flickered, and then died. Darkness swallowed the room whole. The wind howled outside like it had teeth. And then a cold hand closed over mine. Not to hurt, just to warn. It didn't grip. It hovered. Cold, but impossibly gentle. I gasped. He was right beside me now, that fast. His touch was cold, but it burned too, like ice on bare skin. You can't run from what you invited, he whispered, voice grazing my cheek. His breath smelled like river water and wet earth. I didn't mean it. I cried. I was angry, desperate. Please, leave me alone. He let go slowly, his touch lingering. Words spoken at the mother river cannot be taken back. There was something soft in his gaze, but I couldn't look too long. It felt too deep, like if I stared, I'd never find my way out. But fear not, he said softly. I will not harm you. Before I could even blink, he dissolved. Just like that. His body collapsed into a puddle of water at my feet. I jumped back. The rug soaked it up like it had no choice. Then the lights came back on. Silence fell so thick, I could hear every terrified breath I took. Was I dreaming? I stood up on shaky legs. My toes squished in the wetness of the rug. My phone buzzed hard in my hand, my mother calling again. I let it ring out. I just stared at that puddle, watching it fade, evaporate, like it had never been there. The next morning, I busied myself with work. Spreadsheets, emails, client calls. I tried to focus, but every time I glanced at something reflective, the glass window, the conference table, even my laptop screen, I caught a glimpse. A silhouette, tall, familiar, standing just behind me, and every time I turned, it was gone. My coworkers started watching me from the corner of their eyes. I was twitchy, jumpy, breathing too fast. But I couldn't help it. He was everywhere. Not always seen, but always felt. That night, I bolted every door, locked every window. I prayed, even though I didn't know who I was praying to anymore. Then I slipped into sleep, restless and light. But when I woke, the room was soaked. My sheets were wet, the air thick like steam. I felt like I'd been sleeping underwater. Then I heard it. A voice, low and smooth, right beside my bed. I am always with you. And I screamed. Or at least, I tried. The sound came out broken, swallowed by the damp night. What have I gotten myself into? I didn't remember falling asleep after that scream. I only remembered waking at dawn, curled into myself on the bed, my hair damp, breath ragged. The soaked sheets had dried overnight, as if nothing had happened, yet my heart still pounded like a talking drum in my chest, each beat echoing in my ears like footsteps chasing me through the dark. I dragged myself to the mirror. My eyes were ringed with dark circles, the whites streaked with red veins. I splashed my face with cold water, hoping the sting would jolt me back to reality. But as droplets hit the sink, they spread outward in perfect, shimmering rings, like tiny ripples on a pond. Each ripple mocked me, whispering of the river. No, I whispered to my reflection, backing away until I bumped into the wall, my breath quickening. I forced myself to work. I had to. Anything to pretend I was in control, to cling to the normalcy that kept slipping through my fingers like water. In the office, my boss, a portly man with a wandering eye, cornered me by the copier. Chinwe, he purred, his eyes dragging across my blouse. How about dinner tonight? You look like you could use some company. His hand hovered just inches from my waist. Before I could even fake a smile or pull together a proper no, his face twisted as if something invisible had wrapped around his throat. He gasped, clutching his neck. His eyes bulged, veins pulsing purple across his forehead. Papers scattered as he staggered backward, crashing into a cabinet with a dull, sickening thud. The office erupted into chaos. I stumbled back, horrified, as people rushed toward him. Someone screamed, a piercing sound that rattled straight through my bones. Another voice shouted for an ambulance, feet pounding, chairs scraping. And then I looked up, at the glass panel of a nearby door. He was there. The river man. Standing behind my reflection. Eyes dark, glittering with cold amusement. His presence shimmered like heat rising off asphalt, there, but impossible. He tried to take what's mine, his voice whispered, just for me. Soft. Deadly. Like the sigh of a snake curling close. I fled. I don't remember the drive home, only that my hands trembled on the steering wheel. The world rushed past in streaks of gray. I barely registered the honking horns, or the insults flung by angry Danfo drivers. When I got home, silence met me like a predator in the shadows. The air was damp, thick with the scent of wet earth and something ancient. That night, I shot up in bed from a dream of Dr. Ning in black water. My lungs burned. Edition. I had screamed, but in the dream, no sound escaped. I reached for the light, and froze. Something cold circled my finger. I turned on the lamp with trembling hands, and screamed. There, wrapped around my fourth finger, was a ring. Shimmering and translucent like frozen water. It pulsed softly, the glow thudding in time with my frantic heartbeat. I clawed at it, nails scraping my skin, but it wouldn't move. It clung to me like it had always been mine. Tears spilled down my cheeks, hot and helpless. Then the lights flickered. Shadows twisted along the walls, dancing like spirits mocking me. His voice came again, not from one corner, but all of them. Calm. Certain. Unshakable. You are now my wife, by the laws of the river. The ring felt heavier each day, as if it had fused with my skin. I couldn't take it off. I couldn't sleep. Every night I'd lie awake, heart racing, waiting for his voice to curl out of the shadows like smoke. You are mine. It didn't matter if the fan was spinning or the lights were on. The voice came anyway, soft, deliberate, inside my ears, inside my bones. I started waking up drenched, not from heat, but from cold, unnatural sweat. The kind that clung to your back even when your windows were open. Neighbors stopped greeting me. I'd see them from my balcony, staring, whispering, crossing the road to avoid my flat. One of them said they heard water running at night, not from a pipe, but like a stream rushing through my walls. Some said they heard someone singing. A low, eerie hum in a language no one knew. My mother's call came during one of those nights. Her voice was tight and breathless. Chinwe, what is happening to you? I've been dreaming of you, Dr. Ning. My spirit is not at rest. But what could I say? Sorry, Mama. I made a deal with the river. Yeah, right. So I said nothing. I just held the phone to my chest until the call ended. When I couldn't take it anymore, I packed a bag and drove back to Amanid. Rain chased me the whole way, turning the road into a silver ribbon that kept disappearing under my tires. My fingers gripped the wheel so tight, my knuckles ached. I didn't go to our house. I went straight to the last place that made sense, the crumbling hut of Ponwokolo, The same priest who used to treat my grandmother with bitter roots and leaf smoke. He was old now, so old I wondered if I'd even find him alive. But when I stepped into his dim room, he didn't blink. He just looked straight at me with those pale, clouded eyes and rasped, "You went to the river at night." I froze, but he continued, "You begged for what should never be begged for." I dropped to my knees before I realized I was falling. My hands trembled. My lips cracked. "Please," I whispered. "Help me. I'll do anything." He sighed, a long, tired sound that made the dust around us shiver. "The water spirits gave you what you asked. But their bride price is steep." His words broke something inside me. "You can never marry a mortal man. Never bear children for another. You belong to the river now." I started to cry. Full, helpless sobs I couldn't hide. He rested his cold hand on my head and spoke with finality. "There is only one way. A ritual to break the bond. But it may see your life." I didn't hesitate. "I don't care. I just want to be free." That night, under a sky flashing with angry light, I followed him back to the river. The same river where I had knelt months ago, desperate, reckless. I remembered what I said then. I remembered the silence that followed. Pon Wokolo marked my forehead with white ash, his fingers dry as chalk. "Stand in the water," he said. I stepped in. The cold gripped me immediately, crawling up to my knees like fingers. The wind howled. Thunder cracked. He began to chant, Igbo words swallowed by the storm. I closed my eyes. Then, a silence so deep it rang in my ears. And then I heard him again. "You cannot leave me, Chinwe." I opened my eyes. He was there. A figure on the far side of the river. Tall. Bare-chested. Eyes glowing faintly, as if lit from within. Lightning flashed, and for a moment, I saw his face, beautiful and terrifying, all at once. The river pulled at my legs, hard. I stumbled. Pon Wokolo shouted something behind me, but his voice was fading. The figure stepped closer. His voice shook the air. "Choose. Come willingly, or I will claim you now." The water surged. I screamed. And I had to decide. Rain hammered the river as I struggled against the current. The storm howled like the wailing of restless spirits. Cold water swallowed my waist, tugging me deeper with each wave. My eyes locked on the spirit husband standing on the opposite bank, tall and unmoved as lightning splintered the sky above him. "Come," he said, his voice like rolling thunder softened by an unsettling calm. His hand stretched toward me, palm glistening with moonlit water. "Or be T0RN apart by the river you dared to summon." Behind me, I heard Pon Wokolo's chants grow frantic. The ash markings on my forehead bled away under the rain. A blinding flash lit the river, and for a heartbeat, I saw faces in the swirling water, twisted, mournful, ancient, reaching for my ankles. "Choose!" the priest roared. "Choose, Chinwe." A wave crashed over me, dragging me under. The world turned black and silent. Under the water, everything slowed. I floated in darkness, heart thundering, lungs screaming. Then he appeared before me, the spirit, his eyes soft, almost tender, arms open. "Stay with me," his voice echoed all around me, strangely soothing. "I will love you as no mortal ever can. You will never know loneliness again." Memories flashed through my mind, my mother's tired face, my father's grief, my sister's pitying eyes. Nights in Lagos, alone on my plush couch, tears falling into silence. I reached a trembling hand toward him, then hesitated. A voice, fragile but fierce, rose from deep within me. I will not be owned by a spirit. I screamed underwater, a sound swallowed by the river. With my other hand, I tore the shimmering ring from my finger. It dissolved instantly into drifting silver mist. His face contorted, fury and heartbreak swirling in his dark eyes. His voice boomed through the depths. You have chosen death, Chinwe. The current seized me 6-0 lently, spinning me like a leaf in a flood. I clawed for the surface, lungs burning. A distant voice, the old priest's, cut through the roar. Chinwe, breathe. A final surge hurled me upward. I broke the surface with a ragged gasp, coughing river water into the stormy air. Strong, gnarled hands hauled me to the muddy bank. Thunder rolled one last time, then the storm broke. Rain softened to a drizzle. The river stilled, dark and silent as a tomb. I lay on the bank, chest heaving, eyes wide to the pale dawn breaking over Amanid. The priest collapsed beside me, exhausted but alive. I reached for my finger. Bare. No ring. The connection was gone. But so was something else. In the pit of my soul, I felt a hollow place, a silence where his whispers had been. I staggered to my feet, legs shaking, and looked into the calm river. Only my reflection stared back, bruised, soaked, but free. I turned away from the water, each step heavy but mine alone. The village road stretched ahead, lit by a rising sun that promised no miracles, only the hard, precious work of starting everything afresh again. Since that night, I made a decision I've never broken. Never again will I let circumstances pressure me. If someone's words or actions begin to weigh on me, I'd rather walk away than let them have that power.